just a big loop. And I kept going around. It's foggier in daylights. I can't hardly see the street sign. Finally went one more street up and found, this is the right one. We went out to dinner. Everybody was eating steak and all this. It was a real nice restaurant. And I'm trying to suck down some soup because I got tonsillitis. We got back home. We used her car because all I had was a motorcycle. She says, where are you going? I says, I'm going to the base. I got to get some sleep. She says, there's the couch. She says, here's some blankets. You just curl up on the couch and go to sleep. Kids were really surprised when they got up the next morning. But that was the beginning of our life together. We went out for about 6 months, and she married me on the 14th of July, 1975. About 8 months after we were married, we ended up getting custody of my 3 children. Now, we had a 3-bedroom house with 6 kids. Got a little crowded quick. And what was really bad is we had 5 girls and 1 boy. He was right there in the middle of all of it. After a while, we says, well, we looked around about buying a house, and you know, back then, prices on houses were sky high, and we're going, no, we can't afford it, so we put a room on. We're going to be 2 bedrooms in this 1 room. After we got the outside walls up, marked out where the bedrooms are going, we're going, this isn't going to work. You got to walk through a bedroom to get to the other bedroom. So we took that as the master bedroom instead. Nance loved it because it was big. But she turned around, had the other kids. We put 2 girls in 1 room, the boy in his own room, and he loved it. And then the 3 little ones in another room. Wasn't long though, I had to go back to Westpac. This time though, I was on 7th Fleet Shore Patrol, so I was sitting in Subic. Surprised me when I got this message from the Red Cross saying, call your wife immediately. I'm going, what did I do wrong now? Well, come to find out, it wasn't, I didn't do anything wrong, but my ex-wife had filed a writ of habeas corpus that I had left the children in the hands of somebody that had no purpose or no reason to have those kids. So I said, oh, okay, well, I know what the judge is going to do. He's going to throw it out. He's definitely not going to make this a precedence. She says, well, I don't care. I've had enough. Seeing as how she'd had a fight on the front lawn about a week before this all started, when she got the paperwork. The ex-wife had grabbed the youngest daughter by the hair and was dragging her to the car. Nance says, I don't think so. She whooped on her right there on the front lawn with a whole bunch of kids there at the house because they were having a sleepover. And literally, she was whooping this woman. And all these kids were cheering her on. Hit her again, Mrs. Saber, hit her again. Oh, that's all we need now. Nancy's going to go to jail over this stuff. But she left. She came back with the cops. Cops talked, and the cops finally told her, hey, you're on her property. You should not be doing what you did. I'd have whooped you too. Now get out of here. And they left. But she had one of the daughters, the oldest one, which was, I think, about 7 then. Every time that Nance would take the kids, which was every other weekend, they'd go to a hotel or what have you. She was married again by then. But turn around, they'd go, she'd always give the oldest daughter stuff. The 2 younger, the oldest daughter. Well, the oldest daughter figured, I'd beaten all the stuff. I'll go. So I'm going, okay, we're sitting in this courtroom, and of course the judge threw out what we were there for, and he did just what I said he was going to do. I'm not going to make this a precedence. He's in the service. He don't have a choice. He has to go wherever they send him. So I asked my attorney, I said, well, can we get it to where she can't come around the house at all until I get back? That way it won't have any more fights on the front lawn. And the attorney asked the judge. The judge says, I can't make that decision because none of that paperwork's in front of me. So we went outside of the court, being led by my arm by my attorney, because I was not a happy camper. And as most of you know, that's not a good thing. But we got outside, I told the attorney, I want to talk to her new husband, first lieutenant in the Marine Corps, in uniform. Here I am, a first-class petty officer in uniform, because I didn't bring any clothes with me. I was there, just brought uniforms. That's all I had. We go walking down the hallway, and he said something to me, and I said something back to him. And I said, she only wants the oldest one. The oldest one wants to go with her, and I'm not paying child support. He says, you'll pay it if we request it. I says, no, I'm not going to pay it. You're going to adopt her, and Nance is going to adopt the 2 youngest ones. And you have until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning to make that decision. I only had a few more days left before I had to go back. I was on leave. My attorney called me at 7 o'clock the next morning saying, I don't know what you discussed with them, but this is what they want. I said, sounds exactly what I discussed with them. And I said, get the paperwork ready for Nance to adopt the other 2. And we got it done before I went back to Westpac. So it went well. As you know, you look around, there's a little quilt up here. There's one laying back there. Nance got into quilting. She also was a florist for 27 years. There's some pictures back on the table of wedding flowers that Nance did for a member of this church, her daughter, and that was Connie's daughter. She asked Nance to do the wedding. Well, she wasn't upset with Nance about it. She did a beautiful job, as she usually did. That woman could take a few flowers and make it a bouquet out of them. She was amazing. She was amazing with the quilts. The only one that never got a quilt done was me. I wanted a special quilt. The material was still laying there, but she never got to it because she was always busy for the grandkids or one of the kids to get theirs done, make blankets for them. I know what she's doing right now. She's sitting next to Jesus Christ, measuring him up for a blanket. I have no doubt. We turned around, came up here. We had property over in Brookings. My brother lived there for 25 years. This was before Fred Myers went in over there. We had bought the property. We'd come up one time to visit my brother after Fred Myers was in. And Nance made the comment, I don't want to live in this little dinky town. I was okay. So I sold the property. Then Ken and Connie, good friends from San Diego, came up here, got a home, and invited us to come up for Christmas time in 2007. We came up here. It's cold, it's nasty, it's raining, just like it's doing today. And Nance and Connie go out walking in the rain. And they're wandering around, and people are inviting them into the house because Nance wanted to see what the houses look like. She got back to Ken and Connie's with Connie and that. She come walking up, she says, this is where I want to retire. I said, do what? She said, this is where I want to retire. With all that nasty weather and everything else, Connie calls the owners and says, I got a customer for you. We went down and talked to Ken, and we bought a home. Nance got to pick out all the stuff that's in the house. We went back to San Diego. I continued working, she was working. Next thing you know, she says, I'm ready to retire. 2008, so the house was put in April. We came up, had all the furniture shipped up here. The 1st of April, 2008, now nobody told us it snowed in Canyonville in April. Here comes the movers, all the furniture and everything else, and it's snowing outside. I'm going, if it gets deep, I'm gone. That's it. You're going to stay here, and I'm going back to San Diego forever. Of course, we had, our little 1.5 inches of snow, and that was it. We're done. But other people move, and they live out of boxes forever. No. I unloaded every box. Whatever room it was supposed to go in, it went in there. Nance was still looking for stuff for a year. Some of it I got rid of in San Diego, but she didn't even know about it. But she kept saying, there's not enough room. I said, we went from a 1,200 square foot house to a 1,700 square foot house with a lot more cabinets. And there's no room. It's time to get rid of stuff again. But I left her here for a year, all by herself. One of the ladies that used to come here to this church all the time invited Nance to come down here. Now, Nance was not a religious person, really. She didn't go to church. And all of a sudden, when I come back up to visit, she says, it was over the weekend, well, most of the time on Sunday, I was headed back to San Diego because I had to be at work on Monday. But she turned around and goes, I got to go to church. Do what? She says, yeah, I got to go to church. I says, what church? She says, the Methodist church. I says, you're not Methodist. She says, so I like the church and I like the people. And they have food after church. I said, yeah, that's what got you to come to church. They had food. But that was her introduction for me to come at this church. And when I got up here in 2009,
this is where we came. We've been coming here ever since. And we became members of this church. But I guess a lot of people here, they're not just people, they're family. That's the bottom line. Not only do I have family here in this church, I have a motorcycle group that is here represented and their family. Then I look around, there's my boss from the bowling alley, Ken, or Wade rather. He turns around, tells me what to do every day. And I love it. I go to the bowling alley, there's other couples here from the bowling alley. We're family there. Everybody here in Canyonville is family. And everybody I've met throughout Oregon has treated Nance and I with nothing but love. We're like members of a motorcycle association, both of us. And I'll tell you, that lady used to work her tail off for the association, especially when we became state directors. She worked like crazy to get things done and kept on me continually. But there's one person that's here from the motorcycle club that we call the Grazer. He never took food any place because he always showed up at your dinner table. And it didn't make any difference. He'd go from campsite to campsite to campsite. He'd get plenty to eat. Right, Rich? But he's a retired Master Chief also. That's how I knew he was, he was going to get around to getting what he wanted. That's all Master Chiefs did. They ate and slept. They didn't do no work. We had to quit that job because of her illnesses and the disease that took her. We watched her mom go. We took care of her mother. And I had to take care of her. As you all know, I had heart problems, had a heart attack and everything, but God didn't want me. He had a job for me to do. Now that job's done. And I'm mad at her. She left me here to do the paperwork. And I don't wish that on anyone, I'll tell you. But I've had a lot of help with it. And there's two individuals sitting here today that have been like brothers and sister to Nance and I. And it's hard, but Carl and Carol, thank you. I wish to thank all of the great friends and family that are here. If you're hungry after the service, you go out here, catch First Street, and drive all the way down to Riddle. It's not that far. Stop at the Old Sportsman, and we'll be there. And lunch is on me and Nance. They have two specials that they got to run. That's Nancy specials.
we went there every day, almost every day for breakfast. And she'd have her one egg, and she ate it scrambled with hash browns and piece of sourdough toast. That was what she ate almost every day, except on Sundays. And it was half an order eggs Benedict with hash browns. But they also have a lunch. It's Nancy's lunch or dinner, and that's tomato bisque soup and a half a grilled cheese sandwich. But I don't care what you want to eat. If it's on the menu, have it. Just please come over and join with me and Carrie, her cousin. And let's just have some camaraderie. Is there anybody else that'd like to say something? See, I told you, Master Chief will do anything.
Well, as you may guess, I'm the grader. But I remember Nancy as someone that whenever we went out on a ride or ended up at a restaurant somewhere, we always end up at the same table. And she could keep up with me in all, because I'm a big eater, and so was she. And the tiniest little thing you ever saw, I'll tell you, she'd be eating. But we always have to have dessert, which Bud always frowned upon. But her favorite was lemon meringue pie. Not a small slice, a big slice. So we would have to have dessert. But everywhere we went, our appetizer would be jalapeno poppers. Whatever she wanted to eat, then we always had dessert. And I'll always remember that. She was just a wonderful, wonderful person.
Anyone else? Miss Connie.
I'm probably the oldest friend, and it goes almost 30 years.
Mm.
So I've seen Nancy like nobody else has seen her when she was younger, and danced and could be on, and she really got into it. But I do want everybody to look at the pictures of how beautiful a florist she was. And my daughter had looked through a Bride's magazine and seen what she wanted. And it was red roses and coffee beans. And the groom and the girls, and everybody was beautiful. So I'll always remember her and thank her for how wonderful she was.
Nancy and I are only about a year and 9 months apart. There's 9 cousins altogether out of three families. I'm an only child. There's another family of 3 girls, and then Nancy was one of 5. And so she had, I think, 3 brothers and another sister together. So Ray was the oldest. Nancy's the second oldest cousin. I'm the 3rd oldest cousin, and went down. So she was born in Manzanar. I think you've heard of that. It's the relocation camps where they put all the Asians in. There were about 10 camps. They were at Manzanar, which I think was one of the nicer ones because we hear nice stories about it. Others were not so wonderful. That she and her brother were born there. I was not. I have a white father, and I say that, but in Caucasian father. So with a Japanese wife, so we were transferred out of California. We didn't go to camp. What's interesting is I was in my 40s before I began to realize what our history was all about. And so I visited, and Nancy and her sister and her mom got out all these shoe boxes, and it was like about 3 or 4 hours of hearing their stories. And they weren't bad stories because the little Asians made it into, it was like an incredible little city. In some ways it was was fascinating, but, she went through quite a bit, and being older, she understood it all, but she helped me learn a lot of stuff, because I said, well, I don't know, how come I don't know, she says, they don't talk about this stuff. The only reason we do this is she was cleaning house and she found the boxes and asked her mom about them. And she says, because you don't remember those early years. And so I guess none of our families, none of us really are real aware. We have to ask the questions, kind of dig it out. And Nancy was good about getting her mother to share and talk about it. Because Nancy liked to talk. And so that helped her mother talk more and share. Does that make sense? Yeah, I was not so good with my mother. She was not as forthcoming. So anyway, so I knew Nancy through those early years. I have some hilarious pictures of us just looking horrible, running around. The big thing I remember is that her mom was a lot like Nancy. They were very open, like the 6 kids things. Her mom had the 5 kids running around. And if I went to stay there for 2 weeks, it didn't matter. I was just another one of a bunch of, and it was always, we'd get yelled at, but it wasn't like an angry yelling at. It was more like, playground, the monitor yells at you, so you can, oh, I better not do that. Oh, well, are we doing it in? Okay. I mean, it was it was a fun household. It was crazy and wild. And I remember them taking us off there. Did you remember that her dad was a lay Buddhist priest? So in her home, she had altars with Buddha in it, and it would open up there and go in there. It's a very humble household. And, I think I was raised in a Presbyterian church, and I always thought that was interesting. Never thought about the fact that when my mother was buried, that she had a Buddhist ceremony. I didn't even realize they were Buddhist. But anyway, that I'm just trying to share part of the generation gap, because I'm third generation, as is Nancy, that you kind of get removed so much from your culture, and it's like, we look at it like everyone's, oh, you're Japanese, what a great culture. And it's like, yeah, I read about it. Kind of thing. And Nancy, it was nice to be with Nancy, because she kind of says, yeah, not everybody has Buddhists in their household or something. She just laughed about it. It was really great. She had a good attitude. And so those were the early years. And then when we were in junior high school, for some reason, our parents thought we needed to do something, so we took ballet lessons together. And our other 3 cousins that were in the other family were wonderful dancers. In fact, they ended up going off into dance troupes and being on Ed Sullivan Show. We were not that crowd. Nancy and I looked more like old Pollyannas with her feet going her own way. And the dance instructor who took the other 3 girls off, for this, they were wonderful. She was not real thrilled with us. I remember that. She just couldn't wait till we were done with her lessons. But Nancy and I would stumble downstairs, because it was downstairs, and our legs would be wobbling. We'd just sort of laugh. We didn't care that we were lousy. And we'd go down and have ice cream at the local parlor and have the juicers. She did ice cream too. And I'd get on the bus and go. But those were the early years. And then there was a long period of time we all went our merry ways. It was fun. So here she ends up in Canyonville. I end up in Chico, because she was out of, was it in Venice where you went to pick her up the first time? Yeah. Anyway, the neighborhood where she grew up in was, a nice little neighborhood. It was strung to Asian, but eventually it ended up being run over by the gangs. So they did sell it when her mother died, and it's gone. But listening to Bud talk about circling around that area, it's not always the best area back in the days. Now it's considered a kind of a bohemian, I'm not sure. But, come a long ways. The rest of the cousins are all off in Las Vegas, so that's why we don't see them. Well, it's kind of a different culture, Northern California and Oregon people talking to people in Las Vegas is just like 2 different cultures. I don't know what to say. But anyway, so I was really thrilled because Bud and Nancy had to go past Chico to go down south, so we'd always hitch a ride coming back and forth, and I would come up to visit. And that year that she was up here by herself, I came up to visit. And she made me walk around too. Now we got to visit with people, so it's really nice. So I miss her. It's crazy. I realize now, but that, when the aunties and my mother and everybody and the grandparents, they pass, you're sad. But it's part of the thing, and to realize that of the 9 cousins, Nancy's the first one to go. And, her mother went out till her 90s.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I figured even that Nancy was in a weakened condition, I just assumed she was gonna go on John, so this is kind of hard. You know, she's in a better place.
Yep. Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Phyllis, I was Nancy's caregiver. And, I don't like masks, but they fog up my glasses. But Nancy always asked me how I was every time I opened the door and came in. She always wanted to know, how were you? She was always concerned about me. But she was fun, she was loving. It may take me a little while to understand maybe what she was trying to express, but I'd let her know that I didn't quite get that, and she'd say it again, and I'd get it. And we just really had a good rapport. I just love that woman dearly. And anyway, I had a good year with her, and that was good. Thank you, Bud, for letting me care for her.
You're more than welcome, believe me.
I wouldn't stand that, but I enjoyed talking with Nancy about the Lord. We talked about salvation and where we were going and the tremendous value of knowing God and having Jesus touching your heart and how people that didn't have that, what a tragedy. And we certainly enjoyed talking with each other about the Lord. And yes, she always asked you how you were when you walked in, and I'm part of the motorcycle club. And so, watching her ride and enjoying watching her getting off and on that bike and then having the dog with them, it was tremendous knowing Nancy. It was just awesome pleasure and a treasure to have known her. Never forget her. Just a tremendous person.
You know, it looked like she was looking up.
That was the helmet. I don't know what it is with her, that helmet always had this little top. So the brim was up like here, looking up in the air. She was looking out the glass, the plastic part, but it always looked like her head was tilted back. Anyone else? Well, I thank all of you for your words and the friendship. Because I don't think I could have made this without you. Pastor Tal, thank you. He's a master of everything. Yes.
This is slow motion. Slow motion.
What troubles surround us, when evil's come, the wings of a dove. On the wings of a snow white dove, he sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, a sign from above. On the wings of a dove. When Jesus went down to the waters that day, he was baptized, and the years away. When it was done, God blessed his son. He sent him his own. On the wings of a dove. On the wings of a snow white dove, he sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, a sign from above. On the wings of a dove. On the wings of a snow white dove, he sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, a sign from above. On the wings of a dove. Straight from above. On the wings of a dove. On the wings of a dove.
I'm not going to preach a long sermon, but I will just say some words according to Jesus. Now, these are the words of Jesus by the time that he's about to go on the cross. And he knew exactly the pain that the disciples have faced and the hurt that he will live with them. And then he said these words of encouragement. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you, I am going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. You know the way to the place where I am going. And then Thomas asked the question, what's the way? And then Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life. We have witnessed the life of Nancy and her service for God. in this town and in the ministry of this church. And we are all thankful for her and how much she had contributed and impacted many lives. I remember the time when Bard was in the ICU and I came visit, and the ladies of the church were there, and they related to me what the doctor said. That this is it. That's the 5 bypass, I think. Is that right? 4. And they say that Bud will never come back. I was looking at Bud, and I look at Nancy, and I wonder how Nancy is going to handle this. And then Carol walked up to Nancy and said, "Nancy, do you know that Bud will not come back?" And these are her words that touched my heart right at that moment. And who is going to take care of me? And after 2 days, I heard the phone from Carl that Bud has moved to his room. That was the prayer of Nancy. She wasn't prepared to be left alone in this world. As Bud had testified this evening, that he came back and Nancy is now gone. And I believe in my heart that God reversed it, because you were strong to handle life, and Nancy was not prepared for that. How weak she was, but she followed you everywhere. I've seen that. I'm marveled of how much courage that she had to follow you when you two got in that bike and drove all over the country. That's the sign of love. And I also know that you love her, and the children love her too. But these are the words of Jesus to the disciples, because he knew that separation will leave a wound in the hearts of people. It doesn't matter how strong you are, but you're trying to be strong, but there is always that wound of Nancy's passing. And for all of us, we have that wound in our hearts. But let me tell you that there is nothing that can fill that wound but the hope of eternal life. That's why Jesus said to the disciples that I am going to the Father. Just believe in him. And believe in Jesus also, and the reason why he came into our world, so that we may all have a place in eternal life. And as I said, and many people say, that Nancy is in good hands now, but he left that wound in us. And all we have to do is to believe in God and believe in Jesus' salvation. As he said, that I am the way, the truth, and the life. And let us pray. We thank you for the life of your daughter, Nancy, and her courage that impacted so many lives, and her faithfulness to you that bring Bud into a relationship with you, and the kids. Lord, when that strength deteriorated and come to the point where we couldn't do anything anymore. You have called us in a better place. And we believe that you have called your daughter to a better place. And she is with you from now on until you come back for us. But for today, I ask for your blessings upon Bud and the children and the family and the church members, friends that have that wound in their hearts. That you are the only one that can feel that wound, and let thy spirit feel that wound by giving them the hope of eternal life that you, Jesus, have said to your disciples also, that believe in God and believe also in me. Why to believe in God? Because God had a good plan for us all and our world. And you, Jesus, have fulfilled the work of our salvation. And all we have to do is to come to you and prepare our hearts to receive you and be with you forever. Lord, I ask for your blessings for Bud and the children and families and friends and church members. Let thy spirit protect them all and guard them from the evil spirit of this world and guide their ways towards you and bless them. And we are asking all these things in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. Dismiss in peace, and may God bless you all.